is Benoit Blanc. Mr. Blanc is a private investigator of great renown.
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
Will you explain it to us then, Detective?
Welcome to the now playing podcast Knives Out Movie Retrospective Series.
Something is afoot with this whole affair. I know it. I believe you know it too.
Hosted by Justin.
Welcome, gang. We got a great weekend.
Arnie.
I cannot overstate my gratitude to be here.
And Stuart.
Crew, we've arrived. Disruptors have assembled.
This episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and strong language.
Now, I'm going to record this just to make things easier.
We hope you enjoy the show.
All right, when's the murder mystery start?
Today we're discussing Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, starring Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Cailee Spaeny, Daryl McCormick, Thomas Haden Church, directed by Rian Johnson. This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing, and bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 6 weeks since my last confession. I've envied the material wealth of others. I saw this luxury car commercial, Lexus. I thought that was a good-looking car, the coupe. And 4 times this week, you know what? I think that's enough. That's probably far.
Definitely enough. This is Stuart.
Slap a couple Hail Marys on there, Arnie. I think you'll be all right. This is Justin.
So welcome back to the Benoit Blanc series. That's what Rian Johnson wants these to say instead of a Knives Out mystery, a Benoit Blanc mystery. It didn't quite happen for this third one, but we knew when we were peeling back the glass onion, Netflix backed up the money truck to Rian Johnson for 2 Knives Out mysteries, and here is the fulfillment of that contract.
Yeah, makes me wonder, is this the end? Or will he go with a different distributor that will let the movie actually go to a movie theater?
I don't know what you're talking about. I saw this in theaters twice.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, that was no easy feat, I'm guessing. I did try to see it when it was out a few weeks ago, and I think there was some fuckery going on, because I don't think they were actually showing this movie. They were sold out before they were even announced.
I agree. The Alamo draft houses near me had a special screening in mid-November of Wake Up Dead Man with a exclusive Rian Johnson Q&A after. And I checked in Dallas, I checked in Austin, I checked in San Antonio and El Paso. I was going to make a run for the border. Every showing was sold out in every location. And I'm like, well, I guess that's it. I don't get to see this. Then at Thanksgiving, it came to one Galaxy theater that I'd never been to. It was a really nice theater, about a half hour from me. So on Thanksgiving weekend, I went and saw Wake Up Dead Man. It became a nice tradition since the last one we were watching over Thanksgiving. And then when this hit Netflix, it actually showed up at a lot of theaters in my area. It finally came back to the Alamos and to Flicks, and I think even some AMCs were showing it. So I got to see this twice in theaters because I mentioned this when we reviewed Frankenstein. Netflix's fees are too high. I canceled my Netflix subscription. I'd much rather have a theatrical experience and pay for a single ticket than give them a monthly fee to watch commercials and have a whole bunch of stuff I'm not going to watch.
Why do this way? Like, why spend the time and effort to make sure it hits screens, but makes it hard to see and then release on streaming? I understand it's Netflix and their business model is subscriptions, but is there some sort of like rule for awards and stuff like that they need to be in the theaters?
Absolutely.
I believe it's 2 weeks that it has to be in a theater for Oscar contention in any category?
Yep. On both coasts, New York and LA.
And then also, I know Rian Johnson, despite making the deal with the devil of Netflix, was pushing really hard for part 2 to get theatrical distribution and still wants that theatrical experience. Like you said, Stuart, will he continue to lie down with the devil of Netflix and not have these movies go to a big screen? Or is Netflix buying Warner Brothers and it will go to a big screen? Or no Warner Brothers film ever will go to a big screen?
Our movie's dead. Is that the next Benoit Blanc mystery? It's like at a Cinemark going, yeah, you all killed it.
But we talked about that the last one made a lot of money theatrically, even though it was only on 600 screens. This one's only been reported to make $2.5 million. You couldn't tell that by my screenings. It was sold out every time I wanted to go. I had to go on Friday morning after Thanksgiving while everyone was either comatose or Black Friday shopping to get some good seats.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, the reason why they're calling it a Knives Out mystery was Knives Out was a big hit movie in 2019, right before the pandemic. And it did something that we probably aren't giving enough credit for. It made the drawing room murder mystery viable again. I mean, this stuff was considered old, creaky, the kind of thing you'd go to PBS and watch, right? You know, they just weren't making this kind of movie until Knives Out came along. And now, well, it's got competition. I think it's the reason we have Only Murders in the Building and umpteen other shows that combine comedy and murder mystery, and other people have tried to get into this game. Benoit Blanc probably just doesn't have the name recognition. They want you to know that this is a Knives Out mystery. It's going to be like that big old hit. And yeah, I'm firmly convinced that if Netflix hadn't bankrolled this, both Glass Onion and this would be box office contenders. They would still be packing them in. But when you know you can stay home, I mean, I think I would have had to travel probably to Chicago, 3.5 hours away from me to get to a movie screen. It's just not viable.
No, I think there's only 2 movies in my life I've traveled that far for before midnight and IMAX for Attack of the Clones. I think that is it. So no, if it's available at home, that's obviously the convenient way to watch it. I have to say, I did enjoy the cinematography and the sound and everything being bigger. And you know what was great about this, though, was the laughter. Both times I saw this, the audience laughed so much, and like it opened me up for greater laughter. And I had a better time watching this, I think, because we were all mirthful than I would have had alone at home.
Yeah, I can almost vouch for that because I watched this one and went, this one's not as funny as the other one. It had a more somber tone to me. That's probably because I was watching it with my mom, who hates comedies with a passion.
If we're taking votes, then yeah, I hope whatever deal comes up next and we continue making these movies, that it does go back to theatrical experiences. Because I'm with you, Arnie, that this is the type of movie that you want to experience on the big screen because just all the love put into the cinematography. I mean, these are beautiful to look at. I've been saying that since the first one. People have big screens at home now, but there's something about a sense of community, giggling at the same jokes at the same time in the theater while munching popcorn.
For sure. I don't think the movie theater is dead quite yet, but certainly it's been minimized, and Netflix just didn't want this to be a theatrical hit, right? It's by their choice that this is a specialty release. And Arnie was lucky enough to live in a big enough city that he could have that experience.
I did find out while reading about this, though, we mentioned Netflix gave Rian Johnson $400 million to make these 2 movies. The estimated budget of this one is triple the first Knives Out. They're saying this is around $150 million budget. Well, it turns out $50 million of that budget is going to Daniel Craig. He's getting Robert Downey Jr. money for paying Benoit Blanc for Netflix.
Yeah, in order to secure this, in order to do it right, Netflix was willing to pay anything. They're blinging, they're letting you know, we got the money. It doesn't bother us to write that check. It meant that Rian Johnson, who again would probably have preferred to have gone with a theatrical release, was going to put it out this way.
But I am glad Netflix did make these movies. I'm glad it gave them an outlet for this kind of story. That is, you say these would have been blockbusters. I don't know that adults go to theaters as much anymore. I think it's more niche. I think the reason this was crowded and full of mature people, aged 30 to 70, is that there were so few showings. But I don't see things like Hamnet and Begonia blazing the box office. It's all sci-fi spectacle CGI fests that people show up in theaters for.
And then there's Knives Out. Again, that was true 6 years ago. Is it less true in 2025? Sure, because of moves like this. Because adults have become conditioned more and more to expect top-tier entertainment to just pop up on a Friday morning streaming, and they can watch it at their own convenience.
And I will say the marketing campaign for this really didn't kick in until it was already streaming on Netflix. I do not remember seeing any previews for this before any movies in the last few months, and I definitely didn't see any TV ads for it until it actually hit Netflix on streaming, and then it was everywhere.
I had never seen a trailer for this before I saw the movie. I knew very little about this going in. I mean, I'd read that Jeremy Renner was involved, but I don't think that sunk in until I saw it. And I think I saw Josh Brolin. He was doing like an interview somewhere, and I'm like, what's he promoting? Oh, he's promoting Knives Out 3. I guess he's involved in that. But I couldn't have told you anything about this mystery before going in. Usually it's a trailer that gets me hyped. This time it's Knives Out that got me hyped. And I really do think it's become part of the culture. As part of the press for this, I found Sesame Street did a sketch, Forks Out, where Beignet Blanc is trying to investigate who ate Cookie Monster's pie.
Where did this run? On Sesame Street?
On Sesame Street.
Well, they could do stuff like that. They would invite people to bring their adult properties and prepare children for it. I think that happened even in our time. But yeah, obviously a joke for the parents, not for the kids.
Very much so. The funniest part was Beignet Blanc showing up Grover, who always fashioned himself a private detective with his magnifying glass. And Beignet Blanc is like, I know who did it. And Grover's like, Rian Johnson? I mean, no kid is getting that joke. It was not Daniel Craig doing the voice of Beignet Blanc, but you couldn't tell. It was dead on. And when seeing the clip, Daniel Craig said, don't show this to Rian Johnson or I'll be out of a job.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all cocked an eyebrow at this accent Craig is doing. I mean, he's won me over the two movies, but it was strange to watch him be this big, foghorn, leghorn kind of Cajun accent.
And this movie is named after a song like all the others, a U2 song.
Yeah, I don't know this one, Wake Up Dead Man, but yes, that's been Knives Out was Radiohead, Glass Onion was the Beatles. That's a theme that they keep going here. One of the games, one of many.
Yep. You kind of brought it up already. They're afraid to call this a Benoit Blanc movie because they don't know if any people that's going to catch with them. So we're still using Knives Out. And I'll say it probably took me till this third movie before Benoit Blanc finally stuck in my head.
Although, ironically, I'm not sure that he's the star of this movie.
He's never been the star. He's always been an agent, but I always feel like he should be and Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc in these, not top billed Daniel Craig.
This movie has the least Daniel Craig of the three movies, by far.
Yeah, part 2 had the most by a lot. This one, he's not in it for half the film.
Right. Big, bold move. Lots of them. Why don't we talk about it? Arnie, why don't you give him the plot?
Father Judd Duplessis, played by Josh O'Connor, is assigned to the failing parish of Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude, run by the cruel Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, played by Josh Brolin. Wicks is the grandson of wealthy preacher Prentice Wicks, who disowned his own daughter, Grace, for her greed and appeared to die penniless. Grace, later called the harlot whore by her son, trashed the church after Prentice's death and soon died of a brain aneurysm. Wicks' angry preaching has driven away nearly all parishioners, leaving a small, loyal inner circle. Martha, the church's main employee and a fanatic devotee, played by Glenn Close, her lover Sam, the groundskeeper, played by Thomas Haden Church, Dr. Nat Sharp, a disgraced alcoholic physician, played by Jeremy Renner, Lee, a washed-up sci-fi author turned conspiracy influencer, played by Andrew Scott, Simone, a former cello prodigy with a nerve disorder who has donated her fortune to the church in hopes of divine healing, played by Cailee Spaeny, Vera, a local attorney, played by Kerry Washington, and yeah, that's all I have on her, she's just a local attorney, and Cy, Vera's adopted son, rumored to be her half-brother, and himself a failed politician turned YouTuber, played by Daryl McCormick. Judd clashes with Wicks over his harsh sermons, culminating in a physical altercation. During Good Friday service, Wicks steps into his storage closet and collapses, apparently stabbed in the back while alone. Police Chief Scott, played by Mila Kunis, calls in Private Detective Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig. Though Judd seems the obvious suspect, Blanc believes him innocent and brings him into the investigation, Judd playing the Watson to Blanc's Holmes. It's revealed Judd hid Wicks' secret flask as Wicks was a closet alcoholic. Wicks is entombed in his family mausoleum on the church grounds. The investigation uncovers that Wicks recently learned Cy is his biological son, and Wicks planned to leave the church with Cy. Wicks had discovered his grandfather's fortune was hidden and intended to use it to fund a new online ministry, threatening to destroy the rest of the parish on his way out. One night, Judd sees the mausoleum door open and what appears to be Wicks walking out with Sam nearby. Judd is knocked unconscious, and when he wakes, Sam is dead beside him. Blanc reveals the solution. Dr. Nat had sedated Wicks by dosing his flask, causing him to pass out in the closet. Martha had sewn a fake dagger handle into Wicks' robe, making it appear he was stabbed. Later, Nat returned, removed the fake handle, and murdered Wicks for real. Blanc and Judd then find Nat dead in his basement, along with Wicks' body dissolved in acid. Martha confesses the rest. Prentice Wicks, the grandfather, converted his fortune into a massive diamond, swallowed it, and then poisoned himself. Martha had known for decades that the diamond was in the corpse and finally revealed it to Monsignor Wicks in a confession. When she realized Wicks planned to take the diamond and abandon the church, she conspired with Sam and Nat to kill him. Nat was promised a share, but then poisoned. Sam posed as Wicks' corpse and was entombed, later emerging from the mausoleum with the diamond so the resurrection would appear miraculous. Martha intended to destroy the diamond to erase the greed forever. Feeling guilty, Martha poisons herself. Judd administers last rites as she dies. A year later, Judd reopens this church as its new leader. The diamond is hidden inside a new crucifix, denying the greedy Cy his inheritance as credits roll.
As we get started, they want you to know that Daniel Craig, yes, you are watching the right movie. He is in this movie. The first shots are of him by a roaring fire, hellfire maybe even, reading somebody else's account of a Good Friday murder. And then you're not going to see him for 40 more minutes.
This is a fun way to start it, right? It's a little bit of misdirect right off the bat. I mean, as a viewer, I'm thinking, okay, this is Blanc getting a letter, which is going to bring him into this case, and this is how we're going to follow it. But right after this scene, we're shot right into the story of this young priest, Judd.
Yeah, it wasn't until the second viewing that I really noticed this scene of Blanc reading the letter, and, knowing who wrote it and when he's reading it helps. But I think the first time, if I'd walked out of the theater, I wouldn't have remembered this shot of him reading the letters. I would have thought he wandered into the movie about halfway through. And let me just ask, is this a prequel to part 2? Because in part 2, somebody said to Benoit Blanc, you solved the Good Friday murders. So I'm wondering, is this a pre-COVID movie? I'd have to see it again and probably frame by frame for dates, but I think they reference the murders in this movie in Glass Onion.
You're probably right. I mean, I think that sounds like the kind of cleverness that Rian Johnson is going to. I mean, there's so many misdirects and turnarounds and replays and rethinks that the third movie is really the second movie. Sounds like his kind of joke.
I don't think that matters in this universe. I don't think any of these movies build off of each other in any way. You could watch any of these movies in any order and not be lost as to what's going on.
If Benoit Blanc is the character, I don't see that there's any change from movie to movie. He doesn't become different or become more famous. He has been famous in all 3 installments. He is a renowned detective that is always brought in as a way of solving what appears to be an impossible mystery. And this is called, depending on who you ask, a miracle or an impossible crime.
And being told all from the point of view of this Father Judd, Josh O'Connor, an actor I'm not super familiar with. He just hosted SNL this past week, so I got to see him play in a number of different sketches. But when I looked him up, I'm trying to think what I'd seen him in. I don't think I've seen him in anything.
I had seen Challengers, the Zendaya tennis movie. He's one of the threesome in that, and pretty good. I like that movie, and he's good in it. If you watch The Crown, and I don't think any of us did, he's Prince Charles.
Oh.
Okay, I did not. And yes, I haven't gotten to Challengers yet. It's on my long list.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He's the star of this movie, and thank God. He's incredible. Like, this guy comes in and right from jump just grabs you. What a character. A priest that is a murderer and a boxer and is now trying to not put up his fists and hug the world.
He's well cast. Josh O'Connor has a physicality to him that really makes me think he could be a tough boxer. He also has flat ears that make me think like kind of cauliflower ears, but when I saw him on SNL, he really had those ears, so I don't know if they're just odd or if I'm just paying too much attention to this man's ears, but I really believe him as somebody who was rough and tumble, who is also very sensitive and a man of the cloth. I don't miss Daniel Craig in the first 45 minutes of this because we are taken on Father Judd's story, and damn, is it an entertaining story.
Yeah, I like the fact that they give us enough of his backstory right up front and visually show us his character. Because when you start telling a story about priests and stuff like that, the story can get pretty stodgy, right? We could start getting into the order of the priesthood and the Bible says this and do that. That's not what this movie is going to be. This movie is not going to be about the ritual of Christianity. It's more a personal faith thing. And that's what we learn about this guy right off the bat. Yes, he lays out this other priest for being a dick, and he's in front of this panel of other priests trying to decide what to do with him.
Mm-hmm. Full confession, I don't know that this has ever come out before, but I love religious movies. I love movies about religious figures that struggle with their faith. Like Ethan Hawke had one a few years ago where he was a priest struggling. Like anytime you show that kind of stuff, man, I can really get into that. I think that it's just a conflict. It's maybe why I saw this movie as more dramatic than comedic, although we get both here. It should be said, the guy doesn't know where to start in telling the tale, so he's going to start with decking a really dickish deacon. It's funny, it's physical comedy that he's punched out a guy, but also you see that still in him is that killer. He's still trying to quench that fire inside of him that once took a life in the boxing ring.
And there's so much dense discussion here where these three priests, one of whom is Jeffrey Wright and the other two I don't know, are telling him they need to fight off the wolves that are coming for the church. And Father Judd from the beginning has a refreshing view of Christianity in that Jesus came to heal the world, not fight it. And he has this hand motion where it's like, it's hugs, not fists that he does. And it brings me on his side. I'm not into religious movies. Anything with religion is usually a turn off for me. But this is a representation of the Christianity I would choose to believe in over a lot of the doctrine I hear.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a Christian film is one that's usually preachy with morals, but a movie that wrestles with faith is open-ended and full of all of these kinds of complexities like this character. But yeah, it's hilarious. The other guys are like, we're actually not mad you punched out the guy. We don't like him either, but we can't just let this go. We have to send you off, and we're going to send you to this other problematic figure in the church. A guy that's a few beads shy of a full rosary. Probably a good way to describe Josh Brolin.
There's a turn of phrase here that Judd says that he was young, dumb, and full of Christ.
Yep. That's not how that saying goes, but hey. So Judd is being shuttled off to the fictional town of Chimney Rock. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh no, are they sending him to the middle of nowhere, Nebraska? Because there's a Chimney Rock National Park here. And I'm like, don't do that. And luckily, this is set in a small New York upper state town, which I think is the right idea. To me, the Knives Out franchise should exist on the East Coast.
And my elementary reader self jumped up and down because it's another choose your own adventure reference. If you remember, Who Killed Harlow Thrombey was one of the best choose your own adventures you ever read before. Thrombey was the family name in Knives Out. Chimney Rock, the mystery of Chimney Rock was one of the scary ones. It was a pretty good choose your own adventure. I think this is probably where Rian Johnson got his love for mysteries. And again, the postmodern deconstruction. The way that Choose Your Own Adventure had you flipping all around in the story, he's doing that here.
I only remember that Choose Your Own Adventure title because you brought it up when we reviewed Knives Out, the first one. I guess I'm going to have to dig out my Choose Your Own Adventures to bone up for Knives Out 4.
Well, those are the best. I'll be honest. The Jewels of Nabooti are about the only other one that I could call by name. But yeah, I love those books.
Yeah, that was always fun. Turn to page 97 if you go through the door.
Yep. And always turn left. Never turn right. If you turn right, they kill you. But we meet Josh Brolin here. I said to Marjorie, I love how many MCU actors are in these Knives Out films. And Marjorie just said to me, every actor is in the MCU. So it's not like they're pulling from the MCU. It's just that everybody has been there.
A little bit of both, I think. I think there's a little bit of purposeful casting on Rian Johnson's part with grabbing at least one or two for each of these movies.
Perhaps. I don't feel like this is a play on Thanos that we're watching here, but it is a man that is going to be obsessed with the jewel and power, so maybe in that way.
But a good casting choice? I think so. I think Brolin playing a fire and brimstone monsignor of a old school church made out of granite and whatnot and decorated like it's the middle of the medieval times. I feel like he's right at home here. I'm not questioning the casting choice with Brolin.
No, not at all. He sells me within seconds of what kind of character he's playing. And yeah, Brolin has so much range. I mean, we just talked about him in The Running Man last month, and here he's doing this. We saw him in Dune. I think of Thanos. I go back to how very different and funny he was in Men in Black 3. And of course, No Country for Old Men was very dramatic. This guy has some frickin' range. I will forgive him completely, Jonah Hex.
And yet I would also say that, like, Josh Brolin doesn't seem like a lot of fun. Like, there's something about him that seems cantankerous and difficult. And you get the sense right when he's walking up, he's like, he knows who sent him. You came from Jeffrey Wright's Bishop Langstrom. I know he doesn't like me. There's a reason why you're here. And the first thing I think he says is, you're here to take my church away from me? Again, it's a boxing match. There's a reason they sent the boxer. This is a fight. Who is going to control this parish?
Father Judd notices right away that, his congregation is small and anybody who's new coming to the church for the first time, they never come back. His job, he feels, is to help cater to a flock and bring people into the church. And he sees this Monsignor who's actively chasing people out.
And yet it seems like the kind of thing you would see is a preacher who would rail against single motherhood, a preacher who would rail against interracial marriage. These are the people who Monsignor Wick is targeting with his words, enjoying it when they finally do get up and walk out of his church.
Yeah, I mean, he has got a fan club, right? There's the faithful, there's the flock. There's a bunch of people that are going to show up week after week, and they're in the club, and he never attacks them. But yes, he's dwindled all the other members away. And he's sort of driven in part by this anger at his mother. One of the first things Judd notices is that there's this stain of a crucifix on the wall. He wants to wash it away. And Josh Brolin is like, nope, this reminds me of my mother. She destroyed that cross, and everyone must remember this. What's he call her?
The harlot whore.
There you go. Yes.
Judd actually wanted to put a new cross up. He was measuring that shadow so he could make a cross that fits that stain perfectly. And Wicks is like, absolutely not. And we're going to get the story of the harlot whore from Martha, played by Glenn Close. Big laugh moment when she shows up. She just appears behind Jeb and walks out and startles him quite a bit. And that was a fun introduction to this character who is as mean or meaner than Wicks. We're going to find out, probably meaner in the end, with her hatred of the harlot whore.
That feels like the point, right? That she can just suddenly appear and like make a big noise. And everyone has to look at her, but you might otherwise not notice her. Here's the thing. When you cast Glenn Close, I notice her. She's a big actress. She's next to Meryl Streep, probably the most lauded actress of my movie-going years. And so I'm onto it. I'm almost immediately, when I see that she's a part of this cast, I think to myself, she's probably the killer. But what I can't figure out is why. I know that she did it, But why would someone so devoted to this man? She does everything for him. Why would she turn into his murderer?
I didn't suspect her, and I'll tell you why. I haven't seen Glenn Close perform in quite some time. And the last thing I saw her in was with Josh Brolin in a movie called Brothers. And this was such an atrocity with Peter Dinklage and Glenn Close playing their mother and going for broad comedy. I thought she'd lost it. I thought she was just done. And so I was like, oh, good, she's acting again. I'm happy to see her in a reputable film, but I kind of thought this might be a favor to Glenn Close's career to let her be in something good again.
No, she famously didn't win the Oscar a few years ago when everyone had her earmarked. She's never won. You know, she's, I think, the most loved actress that hasn't won the statue. She was in The Wife, and everyone said, she's going to win. And then it went to The Favorite.
I can see it either way. I can see where you're coming from, Stuart, and thinking like, oh yeah, this is just a neon sign flashing. This is the killer, his biggest name in this cast.
For me, it was. Yeah.
Sure. But, I mean, at the same time, general audience, there's a bunch of big names here, right? I mean, Thomas Haden Church is going to show up and get introduced here real quick. Jeremy Renner's here. We went through all the names. It's purposely designed with all these big names so that you can't pick out that one celebrity of the week on a TV show and be like, well, of course he's the killer. Why else is he here on SVU?
Yes. Part of the fun of any Knives Out movie is who are they going to get and how will they play off of each other? What strange comminglings can we have with new stars and old? But again, to me, Glenn Close is the biggest name in this cast.
Again, just my strange view and tinted by that horrible Amazon movie. I saw her as a wash-up.
Yeah, you shouldn't have watched that movie, Arnie. Yes, you should not have. You brought this movie up twice now on Toxic Avenger as well. No one else saw that movie. I'm sorry you did, but that is not representative of Glenn Close's work or the way people think of her.
But I also thought, because when I think of her, my go-tos are nefarious roles. My two for her will always be Fatal Attraction and Dangerous Liaisons.
Absolutely.
And so bringing her in here in this stern, kind of a school marmy role could be a red herring, because you expect her to boil the bunny so she wouldn't be the killer.
Right. I mean, they kind of have it both ways. There's several killers here. Depends on what murder we're talking about. Yes, we're starting to meet the suspects. The first big name, as we've already talked about, is Brolin, and he's definitely being weird. Like, he is playing on this priest. Like, I want you to take my confession. And then he tells him all this masturbation stuff. When it's eventually going to come out, this guy has some kind of penile-ectomy. I don't know what it was, but he can't get an erection. This is just all so that he could punk a new priest.
Yeah, power move.
It's hysterical, though, that he talks in such detail about the masturbation. Yes, it is a total power move, Justin, but the fact that he talks about, I was in the shower, hand gel's right there. Oh, this one was unexpected. I had to finish in this Catholic Chronicle magazine. That's probably a sin in and of itself, or maybe not.
Yeah.
And then when at the end of confession, Wicks reaches out to shake Judd's hand, and Judd just looks at that hand. The audience is just laughing so hard when Judd won't take that hand right away and shake it. And it's a real power struggle. There's real emotion and power dynamics, but it's going down easy and lighthearted. I'd say the first 90 minutes of this movie, you mentioned it not being fun, Stuart. I'd say the last hour gets real serious, but the first 90 minutes is all very dry humor. And especially the first time I saw it, my audience was eating it up.
Again, if I had had a movie theater experience where I was hearing laughter during this, I'd probably recognize it as such. But yes, it is funny that later he goes to his room and there's the magazine with the smiling woman on the cover. But to me, those moments felt few and far between. I didn't have that many laughs in this, quite honestly. But another name, I don't know if he's a big name, but Thomas Haden Church did have a role on a sitcom in the 90s and did have a scene stealer role in Sideways.
Hey, he's Sandman in the Spider-Man movies.
Stop. That is not something to be proud of. But yes, he was that as well. He is the groundskeeper. I can't quite figure out. He keeps talking about Sweet Martha. They're not married, right? He just slaps her ass every now and then. I can't figure out whether it's consensual. He likes her.
I think it's a consensual couple thing. Like, they're like an old married couple who aren't married. She will chastise him for listening to the baseball game during church. And I think they're a couple. They just never got married. And because of the church, they keep any sexual activity under wraps.
My presumption is because Glenn Close grew up at this church, and because she has always known this character, this Wicks, and his grandfather for that matter, she chooses not to have sex, right? She's almost a nun.
Yes, that's what we're supposed to take from this, is that, yes, they act as if they were an old married couple, and there's no sex. But Thomas Haden Church, he would hop in a sack with her, and I think he makes that known. I mean, he literally says, I'll do anything for you. So that's his drive.
Well, how do you read the scene? Someone has vandalized the family crypt with penises, and she thinks, probably seriously, I don't think that she's playing dumb. She really thinks they're rocket ships.
That was a huge laugh in my audience, and I even laughed just thinking about her saying, who would vandalize them with rocket ships? And Thomas Haden Church, he has great comic timing. I mean, Sideways, love that film. One of my all-time favorites, and he's so good in it. But he honed it on Wings all those years. And the way he just starts painting faster when she calls them rocket ships, it is a great moment. I wish Thomas Haden Church, there's several characters in here I feel get short shrift. Thomas Haden Church is one of them. He does not get enough to do in this movie. I was so excited when I saw his name in the credits, thinking it might be a big role like Sideways. And it's a glorified cameo.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's too many real suspects. We're going to see other people, but we don't learn enough about them to think that they have a real reason to do the crime. He, as it turns out, will be murdered, so we're not to know that yet. I went into this assuming Josh Brolin would be the victim. That seemed like the thing between the title and the way he was such a jerk. That was just my presumption. I didn't think that Samson was going to die. What seems important about their relationship is Samson does mention he's sober, and he attributes that to Wicks. And so it's really important that Wicks appear as a sober man to him. That will be a plot point later.
Throughout this introduction to characters, we are getting little hints dropped in here and there. The tomb that he's painting the rocket dicks off of is the tomb where the original priest is buried. And they start talking about the door. It's a Lazarus door that it can only be opened with special machinery. But if you're on the inside, it can crumble from a knock on it because in case somebody was buried alive, they can get out easily. And that's going to come up in this movie.
Or if someone comes back from the dead, like Jesus, you know?
Or Lazarus. I mean, isn't that what Lazarus is kind of known for? I think that's all he's known for.
Pretty much. Yeah. He made a great biscuit. I have no idea. You know? Yes, Lazarus is the very definition of a zombie. But yeah, Grandpa Prentice, you talk about a character I want to know more about. What we get it told to us by Glenn Close, but basically he showed up at this church, a widower, and a father. And he has a giant family fortune and yet will preach against it. How interesting to have a man who has all the means but sees money as corrupting and sinful and wants to actually keep it out of the hands of his daughter Grace.
I think a lot of that is just how Grace acts. She comes back from being away, bastard son in tow, and is literally just hanging around waiting for her dad to die so she can have the inheritance. I believe, as far as pious men go, Prentice Wicks is probably the only good person to be around this money, with the possible exception of Judd at the end we'll talk about. He had the money and really didn't care, but he didn't want to enable his daughter's bad ways. And so he just wanted to rid himself of the fortune rather than allow her to inherit and use it.
Yeah, and of course Close is going to dig in because she didn't like this woman. This woman is going to end up slapping her around when she can't find the fortune. But yes, she frames it in terms of this was the evil force. This is the harlot whore. But again, just think about it. Before that was even an issue, before she became such a thing, she was a child when they came. He just didn't want his family fortune. And just in terms of Knives Out, where everyone was fighting and killing to get a family fortune, what a unique individual to have so much money and to not want himself or anyone to have it.
It's a real flip on the head of what we've seen from this series, and it's also convoluted to a certain degree too, because yes, as a man of the cloth, he is supposed to deny himself pleasures of the world, money and all that stuff, but at the same time, he is judging his daughter in a way that is anti-Christ-like, right? Christ's whole thing was hanging out with the unloved and the whores and all that stuff, so he's kind of walking both lines of this.
I don't know that. Again, this is Glenn Close's story. She's the one telling the story. So we can't be sure that he did it all. That's the way it comes off. Dad is supposed to die. He promises her she'll get the family fortune. She stays at the church and raises her child in the church. And then when he dies mysteriously at the altar, we'll find out later why, she has a big conniption and tears the place apart, rips that cross off so that it has that stain on the wall, and never finds it. Has a aneurysm at the family crypt and dies penniless.
But just to clarify something you said that this Grace attacked Martha. We're going to find out later the reason why is because Martha went up to her and says, I know where the fortune is and you are never going to find it.
Yeah, we don't know that now because, again, they're trying their best not to make us look too hard at Martha. But the fact that Martha was here for all of this beginnings of the mystery, that we know there's a family fortune that went missing, and Martha as a child was there to witness it, again, is a big neon sign telling me Martha is obviously an extremely important character in this murder.
And it is obvious because, yeah, the other people we're introduced to in passing, and much like Thomas Haden Church, I feel like there's just not enough of them. I mean, to kind of go through them, I implied it in my plot summary, but Kerry Washington is completely underserved as this lawyer Vera, whose only quality is she is completely put upon by her father. She took over his law firm, even though she didn't want to. She adopted Cy, who she thinks is his bastard child, even though she didn't want to. Everything she's done in her life was in service of this father, but that's all I can tell you about her. That's the entire movie.
But that's important. She's resentful. She's so resentful that she has not been allowed to have her own life. And she'll be the one to light the wick, right? She's the one that really gets things going. Just to jump ahead a little bit, it's her finding out that Wicks did the same thing he accused his mother of doing is what's going to really make this a murder story.
Right. Once we get to it, each one of these people of the flock do have a legitimate reason for wanting Wick dead.
But to Arnie's point, Kerry Washington is kind of boring. There's not a whole lot to her. She's a lawyer that is now having to be Wick's lawyer. She clearly doesn't necessarily like him, but is kind of stuck. She wants her father to be proud, and she assumes he's looking down from heaven, so she can't slip out the back door, right? She's stuck. And in the end, she'll turn into kind of a rebel. She'll start a smoking habit, and she'll get away. There's a nuance to her, but yeah, Kerry Washington in general, I find her kind of a boring actress, and this is kind of a boring character.
And it may be by design, because as we meet her brother, stepchild, whatever Cy actually is, he's pretty active, right? He's got an A personality where he's always trying to play different angles. He's a failed politician. He has a speech where he talks about his political views and he's tried everything. He's been on every side of every issue and nothing's sticking. This guy is just a mile a minute fast talker that you really can't trust. So to have those two juxtaposed against each other, I think is the right instinct here with these characters.
This guy is such a cynical representation of a political YouTube grifter who is like, you know, when they say, let's try the old thing, and they're like, say something they hate is going to take away something they love, you know, just the way he's like, I tried the trans thing, the abortion thing, the election thing, the climate thing. I couldn't write down fast enough, but vaccines, pronouns, socialism, Black Lives Matters, 5G. This is the stuff I was able to get down in my notes during all of this. And one thing Johnson said in the press for this movie is he wants to make these movies a reaction to the present moment. not necessarily current events or politics or culture specifically, but what we're all feeling in the world at that moment. He says the vibe check of the U.S. and the moment we're in. And we kind of had that a little out of time with COVID, with Glass Onion, and here with the religious, and then with Psy and his political YouTube channel stuff. I feel there are real world parallels aplenty.
The knife is a little bit more pointed than he's letting on. Obviously, Josh Brolin is Trump. Obviously, the idea of alienating so many so that he can have this small cadre of people who are both afraid of him and angry like him, who believe that the way to use power is to hurt others. This is political commentary for sure. And again, if we're all just talking about a murder mystery, then we're not talking about what this is representational of. And that's good, because it allows us to talk about something that otherwise would have people on opposite ends of the room. Right? That's what's cool about it. We can talk politics without really talking politics.
Rian Johnson puts a big red nose on it later on when Cy says, we're going to make you president to Wicks. I mean, it's like,
yes.
If you missed it up to that point, there it is.
I did enjoy throughout the course of the movie watching Psy and we getting glimpses of his YouTube channel and stuff like that. When we first see it, he's got several videos, all with these title catching names on them and stuff like that. He's really trying to game the algorithm, and he's got like 35 views, 40 views on these videos.
Yes. Yes. He doesn't have the cult of personality. That's why he's in the flock. That's why he loves Wicks. It's like, you command and I want to copy that. And again, we'll find out. I'll just jump ahead. We'll find out that this is his father.
I also like that his YouTube videos are often of Wicks presentations, but they're like airbrushed muscle, Josh Brolin's, you know, much like I've seen people do with Trump, where it's like this weird gay fetishistic version of him.
Yeah. No, yes. I don't think it's well disguised. If they didn't want us to think about Trump, too bad. Even my mom, who's 83 and not always deconstructing films, is like, oh, I know what they're doing. Yeah. Yep. You see it. Even in the back pulpit, it's pretty obvious that, yeah, but I'll take Johnson at this. He's not just trying to attack Trump. That's not the point of this. He's trying to look at what happens when someone this angry has limited the discussion to such a few, that he's reaching so few, and why would these people continue to stay under his power? The next one up that seems important is Jeremy Renner, a repeat performer. He was, I guess, a punchline in Glass Onion. He had the hot sauce that doubled as fake blood.
Renner's hot sauce. Small batch.
I actually got confused. I thought he really did have hot sauce. That had gotten like in my memory that he really was selling hot sauce. He wasn't. He does have an app, though. If you want to know more about Jeremy Renner, you can buy his official app. But this is his first role back after his battle with the snowplow that he won. I actually saw him just a few weeks ago at a convention and, you know, got to shake his hand. He's looking very good for being, you know, almost lifeless and limbless. But here, he's listless. He's not really doing a whole lot. We see he's an alcoholic because his wife left him, because he wasn't successful enough, he wasn't rich enough. He's playing this mopey character. I was excited to see Renner here, much like Thomas Haden Church, and left with nothing from him in this. And as I revealed in the plot, he's going to be one of the murderers, and I still don't have a whole lot of what with him.
None in the flock are going to be alpha, right? The whole point is that Wicks dominates them. So yes, where he connects is, I'm mad that my wife left me and took my kids to live with some guy she met on a fish message board. And so I'm connecting to his misogyny. When he's preaching about harlot whores, that's how I'm feeling.
Exactly. Every person in this flock is a personification of a sin, and their personalities can only get so big under the tent of Wicks.
But I do think the next two are probably the ones that, again, they don't even have enough screen time to really feel like suspects. They're just there to sort of fill in the picture of why people are drawn to him. We have this sci-fi writer, Lee Ross, who I think is modeled on Philip K. Dick. What's interesting about Dick is in the later periods, he did find God, did start to write about spirituality, and did lose some of his cred and his following.
I was really thinking, actually, L. Ron Hubbard, just because of the art when they show us the covers of the books that Lee has written. That just reminded me of the stuff I'd seen in the sci-fi section. But yeah, I've heard your reviews of some of the Philip K. Dick stuff. And yeah, I guess some of those covers were equally airbrush art.
Yeah, he wants to make Wicks his new bestseller. And, it's kind of ironic that he's always mad at Cy, who's running around taping him. And he's so judgmental about the way that Cy is sucking up to Wicks with live streams. But he's doing the same thing. We just don't see it. It's this impossible to read book that's like 800 pages that nobody's going to buy. But he's doing exactly what Cy is doing. He's sucking up. Yeah, he's really creating a book that is just idolizing Wicks and not trying to see any of his many flaws.
His real motivation is that he has been somewhat successful as an author, but not in the way that he wanted to be, right? He wanted to be a big name that's in everybody's household, but he's really just kind of catering to a certain type of people, which we'll get a visual punchline to later on in the movie. But yeah, he wishes he was bigger than what he was, and I think he, at some point in his career, convinced himself that he was somebody who was more important than what he would find out he is.
He got writer's block too, at one point he was creative and funny and likable, and now in being stuck, he's become paranoid, he builds a moat around his house. It's an interesting character, but it doesn't really fit into this murder mystery. At no time do I think that Andrew Scott did it, which is too bad because I think Andrew Scott can play a real creep. If you saw the Ripley miniseries made for Netflix, or certainly Sherlock, he makes a great villain.
Yeah, I wish there was more to him as well. He is mostly a joke with all my readers look like John Goodman in Big Lebowski. I wish there was more exploration as to why he was so nutty in that way.
They're attributing that to Wicks. If you sit in that pew week after week and soak up that sermon, then your view of the world turns paranoid and you reject what you used to maybe be curious about.
Well, and there's a little bit of political commentary in this character as well. Like, he's somebody who used to be on the left, as you're saying. He used to be creative and stuff like that. And now that that's kind of going away, he's still trying to follow a crowd. And he's finding himself a little bit more libertarian in his thinking. I mean, he even says libtards at some point. So, he's evolving in the same way that some of these other characters are.
Right. But my least favorite, the one that I'll try again, Rian Johnson, this just doesn't work for me at all on any level, is this cellist Simone, who apparently was a world-class musician that got some kind of sickness that no doctor could heal. And for some reason, we're expecting her to believe that after going to all the finest hospitals, she's come to this little parish to learn to strum a cello again.
The only thing I can really grab from this character is that it's somebody who has nowhere else left to turn but to hope in Jesus and faith and stuff like that.
Sure. Conceptually, I get that. But you know what? I'm just going to say I'm not on the Cailee Spaeny train. I haven't been. Alien Romulus, her Priscilla Presley, her role in Civil War. She is not working for me. They keep telling me she's the it girl, and I keep going, I don't see it.
I kind of like her. I feel the same way about her as I do so many others in this movie. She's just not given enough to do. She's got an out there plot of being a, I guess, mid-20s renowned cellist who is rich and famous, who can't perform anymore because of a hand-wavy nerve disease, and so she's giving all of her money to Wicks and the church in hopes of faith healing, but that's really something deep to explore, and they never do.
But yeah, why would she be convinced that Wicks is the one? What about his hateful rhetoric would make you think, I'm going to learn to play again? It doesn't really track for me.
I think what I'm hearing is this movie's missing a couple scenes. Like, we almost needed the scene of Wicks one-on-one with each members of this flock discussing their plights and their relationships.
Yes, very much so, because what I kept thinking about was comparing this to the previous two Knives Out films. And in the first one, we got to spend time with each major member of the family and learn their ins and outs with their dead father or dead grandfather. And I felt like each was equally represented until it was revealed who the killer was. In the second one, I dare say we almost got too much time with each person.
Yes.
Because it was all on an island, sequestered, and everybody had equal time. Here, everything we're seeing is through the point of view of Judd for the first half of this movie, and then the second half of this movie is going to be Judd and Blanc. As a result, I feel like so many characters are given short shrift that they can't even be realistic suspects. I mean, it's disappointing to me that Nat is one of the killers, but imagine how disappointing it would be if it was Simone or Lee.
Right. I'll frame it another way. This is a murder mystery in which who did the killing doesn't really feel like the point.
Right. This one's different in the fact that I don't think they're trying to misdirect us into who did it. I think they want us to think that everybody here thinks Judd did it, and we as the audience know that he didn't, and we're going to find out who actually did. But I don't think we're supposed to suspect each one of these people the same way we did, especially in the first one. Each one of those people had a valid motivation. Here, we're going to get some hand-waviness as to why they might be motivated, but I don't think we're supposed to be looking deeply at each of these characters.
Not only that, but again, part of the point is, if one of them is the killer, what happened? Because they are devoted. They love the fact that they're in this tight-knit clique. And when other people come to pray there, be it single mothers or a gay couple, you see a woman wearing a mask, pandemic, all of that stuff, they're always shamed and made to leave. But these people can feel accepted. And in some weird way, some punishing way, it can feel like tough love. Daddy might be abusive, but he loves me. Again, they defend him. When Judd tries to have his own prayer meeting, when Judd is going to get caught on tape saying, I'm going to cut you out like a cancer, they come to Wick's defense.
And this is where we really get the buildup of the Judd versus Wick stuff. And Judd is, honestly, he's being a little bit deceptive, trying to have group prayer meetings that he intentionally leaves Wicks out of and everybody else is invited to. And, everybody's afraid of Wicks. And so they're like, does Monsignor know we're doing this? And Martha's like, I'm going to text him right now. And it gets undermined really quickly. And so this finally leads up to a physical confrontation where Judd confronts Wicks. It's his quote-unquote confession. I saw your medical records. You've just been lying to me and torturing me for 6 months of this, and I've had enough of it. And so Wicks is going to knock him down, start kicking him. Judd has no choice but to put his fists up. He never takes a swing, but he's ready to defend himself.
Yeah, and by this point, Wicks is already on to framing this guy because Wicks has gotten the confession. What did come out of that prayer meeting, everyone ended up leaving and nobody prayed with the boxer who confessed to killing someone. But what did happen was that Martha, Glenn Close, was baited into, I bet you wouldn't confess your deepest sin, you're so pious. And when she does, Wicks comes out of that confessional looking differently. You could see wheels are turning, that he suddenly has a different conception. And while we won't know it yet, it will come out later when Benoit is investigating the second prayer meeting. But when they hold it again, he's telling all of these people, I will destroy you now. I'm going to close this church and leave. But again, we don't know that. As you say, right now we're just getting Judd's account. Judd was kicked out of that meeting and doesn't see that. We will have to go back to watch size footage later with Benoit. All we know is that Judd got drunk and got is it a devil's head or is it a wolf? I guess the same thing, right? It's a wolf's head that's meant to look like a Satan's head from this Satan-themed bar where we have that returning actor that Rian Johnson loves so much. Noah Segan. He was a beach bum last time, and he was the fanboy cop in the first one, and now he's the bar owner that everything here is Satan, devil-themed. This is introducing the murder weapon, that we see this thing in his hand, silver. He throws it through the church stained glass window. When we see it again on Easter morning, it's part of a dagger sticking out of the back of Josh Brolin.
This right here is going to be my one contention with the plot. What was the original plan that Martha had, and did it involve a perfectly thrown object by Judd to frame him? Like, what if he had not taken that and thrown it through the church? This plan was already in motion.
It was not in motion yet. It went through the day after Palm Sunday, and that's the same day she made her confession.
Okay. So it may have fallen into her lap as the plan is coming into fruition.
Yes. As she was thinking about, I don't like this Wicks guy anymore, crashing through the window, almost like God delivering to her, is the devil. But yeah, hold on to that. We'll talk about her plot. It's the last plot to untangle. Right now, all we know is that, yes, this priest had done his little bit. He was still preparing to give his Easter morning, screw you all guys. That's why they're all there. Everyone is afraid about what this guy's about to say. But before he gets his liquid courage, he flops over, and in all the confusion, it looks like Judd is standing over the body with the dagger in the back, got the blood on his hands, and for as far as the cops are concerned, he looks very guilty.
I do like the framing of this all taking place during Holy Week, and this takes place on Good Friday.
Yes.
Before Easter. So this is the day that Jesus would have died, and then 3 days later he'll be resurrected. So this is kind of taking place on the same timeline as the biblical narrative.
Yes, right. I really like that as a structure for all day Saturday. Mila Kunis is going to blow in as the local sheriff, asking people questions. She basically has come to the conclusion, yeah, it's this priest. You had the murder weapon. You hated him. You had the opportunity in the closet when nobody else was there. But because she's a nice local sheriff, she's like, but you need some sleep. I'm going to let you go home.
Well, it's an impossible crime. There's no evidence to convict him. She's convinced because he had the biggest conflict with Wicks, but Wicks fell over dead. He walked into this closet in front of the whole congregation of 7 and then fell over dead. And so if it happened when everybody was in plain sight and he was alone in this room, you can't convict somebody who was standing in front of everybody else and there's no evidence to link him to the crime.
Although, again, he was the first one in there. There's no cameras. Cy wasn't there to film when he fell over. They heard a thump. But by the time things get established, yes, the priest is standing over a body that's bleeding and has that wolf head's dagger in its back. So it looks bad for him. I'll just put it that way. And it's an Easter miracle. 40 minutes in, hello! Daniel Craig showing up on Easter morning to give this guy some redemption. He's going to try to get him off the hook. He believes that he is a innocent man, and he is going to find the real killer and get this priest out of jail.
For the first time in a Knives Out movie, we know why Blanc is there. Mila Kunis called him. In the first Knives Out movie, it was a mystery who called him in, who hired him to do this. In the second one, he just showed up on the island uninvited and is like, well, I got an invitation. And so he was there, but why was he there? What was he doing there? That was revealed halfway through. Here, I guess because he's coming in so late that Rian Johnson has to give up that little storytelling trick and just be like, Mila Kunis says the investigator from the first Knives Out movie gave me your name so I could call you.
Yeah, Elliot is the one who recommended him, so that's great. We get a little bit of a callback there. So I guess there is a little bit of continuity here. That movie did take place before this. But yeah, what a great scene. And like we said earlier, I almost forgot that I'm watching a Knives Out mystery here because Benoit has not been here yet, a little bit at the beginning, and I don't think the movie's any worse for it. I love his character, and when he comes in, it's like a breath of fresh air, and it reminds me that I am in a Knives Out movie, and it feels like it's kicking the second half of the movie in the ass and kicking it into a different gear.
Yeah, Benoit, we have every confidence is going to be able to solve this mystery. But what's so interesting is he's going to have to work with a believer, a priest, and he is a proud heretic. That's how he describes himself. The way that they will work together and the way that they challenge each other, it's fireworks to watch. It's really exciting. This is probably Benoit's best collaborator. In the past, I felt like Ana de Armas or Janelle Monáe, they were innocents. They didn't do anything wrong, and it was easy to be on their side. He's working with a known admitted killer. This is a sinner and a killer, and it's a bold risk to say, I know you didn't kill this guy.
It is, but we've seen him in the past take Ana de Armas as his Watson to draw out from her things he already knew. He knew Ana de Armas had blood on her shoe and was involved in the overdose of the first movie, and still brought her in as a confidant, seemingly. So we know Judd is innocent because this whole movie's been from his point of view. That Blanc takes it so quickly that he's innocent too is taking away some of that suspense we had in the first film of what's going to happen to our person, you know, when it turned more Hitchcockian and was more of Ana de Armas in danger and on the run instead of Ana de Armas trying to figure out who did it. We lose that here. But what we get is some amazing character work between Judd and Blanc. I think this is the most we really get to know Blanc as a character.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm really liking about Judd. Not only is he appealing, you could have this movie without Benoit Blanc at all, but now that Benoit is here, it's making him better as well, that he has to play off this priest. And they're going to spend all Easter. I like this conceit. We're going to spend all Easter solving this mystery. Let's first go see that body and just confirm, absolutely, that's Josh Brolin lying on the slab with a hole in his back. He is dead. Wiggle, wiggle. Again, this is setting up the miracle problem of later. When we think we see Josh Brolin rise from the grave that night, we've already had it confirmed. There's no way this guy's dead.
And I'm glad for this scene because later on, I really do think that Josh Brolin is alive. I mean, for reasons we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so this scene here where Blanc is calling him the meat and they're flopping him over and just treating him so disrespectfully, I'm like, how are they going to explain that? We clearly saw his autopsied corpse.
Right. If we didn't have this scene, I think there'd be a real confusion about when did Josh Brolin die.
Right. If we do not establish that this guy is dead, then the climax of this movie would play completely differently, and it would just feel like a hoax, or maybe questioning miracles do happen or whatnot, which is what the movie wants to play with here. But yeah, we get this meat on a slab. We get to investigate his stab wound. It's without a shadow of a doubt, he is a dead man.
And that's the murder weapon. Let's go to El Diablo Pizza Bar and just see those lamps. And again, they have a photograph. We're going to see that there's 2 lamps with 2 heads. And the wolf heads are silver. So the killer took the trouble of painting them red. Why would they do that? Just to jump ahead, we'll find out it's the same red as the red vestment that Wicks is wearing. It's part of the camouflage that he's already wearing a dagger in his back. But they're starting to set that up here.
It's an interesting trick here because Blanc has a photo of the bar and the wolf head is on both lamps and he's putting it up and down and saying to Judd, what do you see different about this? And what Judd notices is that Nat's medical bag is there, meaning Nat is in the bar at that time, but what it is Blanc is noticing is there are 2 wolf head lamps and both are missing. And that's a real fine detail that I don't think anybody would maybe catch on the first watching, but good if you do.
Oh, it's almost impossible to, because the way it's shot is we're supposed to be laughing at the bartender standing there in the same position as he was when that photo was taken.
Yeah, Noah Segan. Again, and he's been in the background of several scenes, just like mocking it up. For some reason, he and Rian Johnson, Ryan puts him in these films. They're friends.
And we also have Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this one as the baseball announcer of the baseball game. So he continues doing voice cameos in this series too.
Weird. I didn't know that one. Okay. Anyway, yes. Nat's bag is in both the photograph and it's sitting there by the bar. Why would that be? Well, because Nat was there just a few seconds ago drinking, and when he saw the killer priest come in, he tried to duck into a booth. And this is when we really start to see lots of people have turned on Judd. There's a man there that's playing that clip of cut you out like a cancer really loud. And then later when Judd goes back to the church, Samson closes his garage door, doesn't want to talk to him anymore. People believe that he's guilty. But you talk about the impossibility of the room, of the killing. I guess the vernacular in mystery terms is locked door mysteries. How does a man die in a room with a locked door? This is something that was described in a paperback called The Hollow Man that was on the church-going reading group? Like, it's weird. If I thought a bunch of churchgoers got together to read, I definitely think that they would be reading, I don't know, something Christian, not a bunch of Agatha Christie and Edgar Allan Poe works.
I would think that, and yet when they say they got their book list from Oprah, I believe it. I really believe that Oprah is her own religion and that people would devoutly read whatever she puts on her book lists, be it full of lust, several of her books are rather racy, or full of murder or what have you. And the fact that, I think, didn't that book, I looked it up, come out in like the 30s? So even if it is a murder mystery, it's a murder mystery 90 years old. It's got to be pretty quaint.
Again, I think it is a stretch to assume that all the parishioners were in a book club and that they were reading about murder. But how convenient, because Benoit knows that this is a, quote, syllabus for how to commit a crime. That whoever read the Holoban used that as the template for killing Wicks in this broom closet that he disappeared into. And we'll find out that, yes, there are 4 different possibilities. Benoit kind of breaks it down. He was either stabbed before he went inside, impossible, was killed when he was inside by someone outside, like there was a robot that shot the dagger in.
Robot knife, yep.
Impossible. Then possibility 3 is that the killer was in the closet with him, and that would mean having some kind of false wall or shooting him from behind. Impossible. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like there's a good answer here.
No, and he purposely leaves out whatever the 4th option might be at this point, and that'll be brought up later by Mila Kunis' character, because she finally read the book, knowing that it is the syllabus to a murder.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and one that would point to arresting Judd right now.
But this teams up Judd and Benoit, right? Now they're a team. They're off on this investigation, and they're going to go digging through records and all this stuff together. And for a while here, you forget who each of them are. You forget that Judd is a priest. I'm starting to think of him as, a junior detective here for a while.
I think he starts to think of himself that way. He's going to have what he calls his road to Damascus moment, where during this investigation, they're talking to a lady who sent out the construction equipment to open the tomb to bury Monsignor Wicks, and she has a sick mother, and he has to console her. I think that's when he goes, I've been too much of a detective. I have been fighting the world, not hugging the world. I shouldn't be trying to find and punish the person who did this. I should be trying to bring people to Christ no matter what.
And I've been focused on myself, right? That I've been trying to save my own skin, and that's not what's important. We're all sinners, in fact, is his view. That was the major debate, really, was that Wicks taught this flock that they were above it all, that all of their failings could be overlooked and everyone else could be attacked. Whereas it's the belief of this priest that you all come to this admitting that you are equally sinful. And thus, it's not about religion making you pious and feeling better. But then they have this weird thing, and I feel like this is one of those, I don't know if we really even need it. Martha basically challenges Judd to get out, right? She puts her finger in his face and says, nobody wants you here, and you hated us, and get out. And we can see that killer in him. He slaps her finger away and goes to a punching bag. And when this scene ends, they'll have reviewed the baseball game that Samson should have been watching instead of being in the Good Friday sermon. And they have all of this gobbledygook about a remote control that might have made a frame or two here fuzz out.
This is the only hole I can find in this plot, is that Samson is in on this murder.
Sort of.
I think at this point, Martha has roped him and Nat in. They all know what they're doing. And yet Samson gives them the videotape that proves when the RF button was pushed, which releases the fake blood on Monsignor Wicks. So why would Samson give up that tape so willingly if he knew it could be incriminating?
I actually think you're wrong. I think in this moment on Sunday, he has no idea what sweet Martha has done. All of what you're talking about is happening tomorrow.
But you don't think he was involved even before they stabbed him? You think that was just Martha and Nat?
Absolutely. That's even said. Martha said when she put Samson in that coffin, he had no real idea what they were doing or why he was doing it. He was just blindly following her because he'd do anything for her.
Well, he knew he was getting the diamond. I mean, he walks out of there with the diamond.
That is the next day, not in this moment. In this moment, he is oblivious.
Yeah, because I don't think Samson's the one who built the RF remote. I think Nat did that.
Yes.
Okay, I always thought Samson built the RF remote since it's the same as his garage door right there.
I don't know. I'll just let it go. I just think it's really clumsy the way it's introduced. And do we even really need it? I mean, what are we going to get out of this? They sync it up with size footage, and what they find is that someone hit the remote button after the thump, which means that the remote didn't kill this guy. So what would the remote have done? And the answer is activate a dummy dagger in the back of Wicks's vestments, painted red so it could be camouflage, but that he always intended to stage his death so that he could be moved into the crypt, and it wasn't ever meant to kill him.
It was supposed to just be a squib of blood that made it look like he died.
Right.
But that was just with the entire intent that Nat would go in there and stab him for real. It's just to confuse people initially.
Yes, and that is a Martha and Nat plan only. No one outside of that understands that. Maybe Benoit. I don't know if he's put it all together yet or not.
I don't think he has at this point. I think he's still working through it. At this point, has he even had Judd write that whole letter bit?
Yeah, that's the end of Easter, is this guy's ready to collapse. I'm so tired. Before you do, why don't you write down everything you know on this piece of paper, and then I'll read it. And when he finishes it, I like the way that this happens. The answer is, why did you do it? And we think, oh my God, he's accusing him. Not why did you commit the crime, but why did you hide the flask? The thing that he realizes from hearing the account that was left out was that Wicks was a drinker. He went into that closet to get his flask, and for whatever reason, Judd has hidden something that would also hide the murderer. That it was Judd who, and I'm not exactly sure how he knows Judd did this. Maybe he's just a good judge of character, but he knows that Judd hid the flask, and Judd will admit that he didn't want Samson to find out that his sober buddy was actually a secret drinker.
I think he knows because they keep talking about the clanky clap or something like that of when Wicks fell. And the description of the sound indicates the flask, and that no flask was found by the cops, and that Judd was the first one in the room, tells him that it's Judd who hid that flask.
So here we are Monday. They're got the forklift. They're opening up this Lazarus door, and they're going to move Wick's body in to be right next to his granddad. And I've noticed even in my first viewing, I watched this thing twice, but everyone leaves the room except Martha. And I'm like, that looks very suspicious to me. And Martha is saying, you will rise again as the coffin lid goes in. Again, I cannot figure out why she did it, but I am certain she did.
I didn't have my finger on her just yet. I was getting there, but I was still a little bit up in the air as to what it could be.
And if I'm starting to suspect her, I'm not suspecting her alone. I'm not sure who else might be in on it with her, but I definitely didn't have it pinned down at this point.
Interesting you should say that, Justin, because in the next scene, my mom goes, I think she was taking a page from Murder on the Orient Express. Oh, they all did it. When they go back to look at that prayer meeting footage, and we finally see that Wicks was indeed angry at all of them, you know, when he gets outed as the illegitimate father of Cy, his response is, I'm destroying this church, I'm destroying all of you. Now everyone does have a motive. Where we could see none before, you could imagine they all could conspire to make this guy disappear.
And conspicuously in that scene, the only person he doesn't threaten to burn down is Martha. He goes one by one and leaves Martha out.
True that. But again, I ask, does Simone have a good, how is he shaming her by saying, I took your money and you were faithless? You didn't believe hard enough to get well.
Yeah, that doesn't go in line with telling Nat, I'm going to tell everyone you're a drunk, and telling Lee, I have connections in the publishing world, so you will never get anything published again. And then saying to the cellist, and you gave me money. I mean, it does not have the same hack.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad for Vera. It doesn't look bad for Simone.
Right.
You have the goods on a doctor that's drunk and drinking on the job. But everyone else, their shame is rather small.
But this is where we, as the audience, get let in on the secret that Wicks does know about the fortune. And he knows that it's still around there somewhere. And I think he knows where it's at this point. So now we, as an audience, are thinking, okay, so Wick has a plan to get this. He's telling them, and he's going to leave and go live a life of debauchery.
Yeah, again, you'd think he's still alive, and this is a part of his plot, except we've seen his corpse yesterday.
And I love that they get this all because Cy was in the room filming the whole thing with like a gimbal and a cell phone. So like the cell phone's convenient, but he has this giant square around it to keep the shot level and is just filming this whole thing. It is reminding me of the first Knives Out, how nobody else who was in that room wants Judd and Blanc to see what's on that tape, but Cy is going to show them all. And yeah, Cy says he and his biological father, Wicks just wanted to go and be a hedonist. And Cy is saying, you can use this money. We can start a YouTube channel, get you a bigger congregation. You could be president. And Cy says, build an empire as father and son. And Judd goes, like in Star Wars? And Cy goes, exactly, like the rebels.
He did make a Star Wars movie. I mean, he has the right to make that joke.
And some people misunderstood his message, I think. So that was maybe a swipe.
I think so.
Yeah, and Cy's interesting because he's not seemingly mad about this. We have Vera, Kerry Washington, and she's just seething that she spent her whole life raising an illegitimate child, and this man was allowed to go on and have no fatherly duties to him. Again, her resentment is heavy. Cy, well, we realize it's in the next moment. Well, if I'm the son, I get the fortune. And so he's like, I just need to find the Swiss bank account, right? Like it's here somewhere. And it sets them on the path of looking at notes and records and finding out something very interesting. That the forklift ordered to open the crypt was ordered last Wednesday before the Friday that there was a murder.
And even this is left as a little bit of a mystery. This is what we already talked about a little bit in the middle of this conversation, trying to find out who ordered it, is when Judd starts talking to this receptionist who is having a bad time. And she basically has a confessional with him over the phone. And you can see his realization of how far down this path he has come and that he needs to start walking back towards God here. And he spends much of the evening on the phone consoling this woman whose mother is dying in hospice and they've had a fight and, doing his priestly job here. And it's going to cause a problem for Blanc because he still needs him in this investigation, but Judd is ready to hang it up and go back to just being a priest.
I also just think it hurts Blanc to be called out that you're this showboat. Right? That you're this big theatrical guy, that you make it kind of all about yourself, that all of this is about you being able to pull back a curtain and say, ta-da, aren't I a smart guy for figuring out this complicated mystery? I mean, the priest is firing back. None of that matters. What matters is that people are hurting, and I want to really comfort people. Like, I think it's in this moment that Benoit realizes the goodness that is in Judd.
I think he realizes the goodness in Judd, but I don't think he realizes his own path is wrong. I do like the scene where he's talking to the sheriff, Mila Kunis, and saying, I love the moment where I bring everyone together and I untangle the mystery while everybody's watching. It's revealing that to switch from Catholicism to different types of religion, Benoit Blanc suffers from the deadly sin of vanity. And his ego is so tied up. He goes, I'm incapable of not solving this crime. And so for the first time in a Knives Out movie, Benoit Blanc is going to have a little bit of an arc. He's going to himself come to realize his way, while fulfilling, may not be the right way.
He may be as smart as he thinks he is, but he's not as good as he thinks he is. And again, I think that's what Judd is hitting him with, even in this moment here, and goes storming off. This is where, after all of this, he's like, I'm going to go. Well, I don't know. What is he going to do? He's going to go back to the church to do godly work. I know he's marching back to the church at the right or the wrong moment, depending on how you want to slice it. But what was he hoping to do if he hadn't run into what he thinks Wick's coming back to life moment?
I think he was just storming away from Blanc in anger at that moment and not going to something, but running from something, just wanting to center himself. Did you guys notice, though, when he's arguing with Blanc in the forest there, you see Samson behind them, very small with a lantern. Mm-hmm. I noticed that the first time I watched it is that somebody with a lantern, and it's probably Samson from the body shape, is out in the woods with them and they never see him.
Yeah, supposed to be Samson, but we'll find out that it's not.
Yes, let's get to this quote-unquote miracle because, yeah, Lazarus' door blows open, and from the distance that we're watching, it sure looks like Josh Brolin is coming out like Jesus and meeting the groundskeeper with the lantern and going off. And that was the plan. That was going to be the official story, that Samson was going to be some kind of apostle so that Josh Brolin could disappear with the family money. To be continued. We'll put a pin in that. But yes, what Judd is watching in this moment is seemingly supernatural.
This is where I decided it was Glenn Close, but for the weirdest of reasons. It's because I thought it was Josh Brolin walking out of the tomb. Obviously, that's what I was supposed to think. But the person who's waiting for him is so diminutive by comparison. I'm like, oh, well, that's Glenn Close. Glenn Close is waiting for him outside there. Mm-hmm. And so it turns out it's not supposed to be Glenn Close. It's supposed to be Jeremy Renner, but Jeremy Renner also not a hugely tall man. So I thought it was Glenn Close. So from that moment, I'm like, oh, it's Glenn Close. But my mystery is, how is Monsignor still alive? Because, and Rian Johnson has done this with the previous Knives Outs, he'll cheat. We see Wicks. We see Wicks' face, and we see Wicks punch Judd. But it was never Wicks.
You mean Josh Brolin, the actor who played those scenes?
Uh-huh.
When they shot this, they used Josh Brolin. Okay. Well, that certainly would leave you with the impression he's still alive. But of course, this is an impersonator. This is Samson impersonating Josh Brolin while Jeremy Renner is impersonating Samson.
And Judd follows them into a little nook of the woods and strobe lights are going off everywhere. I think it's supposed to be chaotic and it's supposed to be lightning. There's a storm, it's raining, but it very much feels like strobe lights and almost feels like going in and out of consciousness, which is what we find out is what's happening because he gets punched in the face after seeing the face of Wicks. And he then has a vision of Wicks with strobe lights hitting him from all different angles. And even as a viewer, I think it's kind of discombobulating because I couldn't tell if we actually were looking at Josh Brolin because his face is only lit for half a second before it's lit differently from the other side. And it's meant to cause confusion to us as a viewer as it is for Judd.
Well, I think the metaphor is true that, he's been in this metaphorical boxing match with Josh Brolin for 9 months and the knockout punch, the TKO is this moment, right? Like he's on his ass and Josh Brolin isn't the one punching him out, but in a way, this is where he wins, right? This guy's going to wake up and he's going to believe he's a murderer and, yes, is ready to confess because Samson is lying right next to him with a garden tool in his stomach that only has his fingerprints.
And in that clip where we saw Josh Brolin, we saw Judd stab Josh Brolin in the chest. And then Judd wakes up and it's not Josh Brolin next to him, it's Samson next to him with a wound in the chest. And so the movie shows us Judd's hallucination, I guess.
Yeah.
But it really throws us off because now we think Judd is a murderer, much like Ana de Armas in the first film. And now we want to see him get away with it and find out, again, why Josh Brolin punched him in the face.
And just something about that scythe and all, it feels like it goes back to that comment about cut the cancer out of you, right? Like that tool itself looks like some kind of scalpel or something. It gets back to that comment that when he's at his angriest, the killer is still inside Judd. He can still be threatening and capable of it. By his own admission, God loves him for that reason.
Well, the story is like kicking into fifth gear at this point, right? Like after this, Judd is going to go turn himself in at the police station where Blanc is already there talking with the chief and getting confirmation that the murder weapon only had his fingerprints on it, so it had to be him.
Yep.
But Blanc intercepts him before he can go in to confess and takes him out to his car. And I love that Blanc has a car that still has a cassette deck in it. I think that's just perfect for his character.
And it's playing Cats. And in previous ones, we found out Blanc was a Sondheim fan. And in this one, there's 2 Andrew Lloyd Webber references. There's Cats already playing in his car. And later he's going to get to that church organ and play the main chords from Phantom.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that he is a musical theater fan. That's a nice little detail about Blanc, is that, yeah, and again, that's him. He is theatrical in that way, that it feels in keeping. There is something about his vanity that feels like a big performance. Look at me. I'm the star. People are dying, and maybe I should attend to them, but no, I'm making it about me.
But between this, we get an intercut scene where we show up at Nat's house, Dr. Nat, and somebody comes to his door. We don't see who it is. And basically he says, "Glory be, it is done." And at the same time, Blanc is asking Judd if he knows where the doctor lives. He's already on to something that we aren't privy to at this point.
Right. We know that by this point, the forklift was ordered by Josh Brolin on that Wednesday. But how is this all going to hold together when we know that he was actually dead on Friday, 2 days after ordering it? We find, maybe in the weirdest moment, they go to Nat's house. There it is. There is Josh Brolin holding down the skeleton of Nat in a vat of green acid. They drain it, and they can tell by the ring on the skeleton's finger, that's Jeremy Renner. And if Wicks wasn't dead before, Josh Brolin certainly is missing his arms now.
And we're in Nat's house here, and I'm not going to get too hung up on this, but I get that a doctor can have access to sedatives that you could put in a liquor and make somebody pass out, okay? But I'm the son of a physician. We never had vats of body-dissolving acid in our basement. I don't think that's something that you can just write a script for and get gallons of at home.
You sure?
Yeah.
I thought for sure what we were going to find, though, was Nat's wife. That Nat's wife didn't really leave him, that Nat killed his wife. Because that wife is brought up at the beginning and never brought up again. I thought for sure there was a secret around that wife, but no.
Yeah, you could have gone that way, but that's a red herring. The point is that he hates women now, and that's what that meant. It's not that he's a wife killer. It wasn't really a killer. It wasn't in his plan other than to take out Wicks. Let's break it down. The original plan was Glenn Close would fill that flask with the knockout stuff. The thump of Brolin falling over was him drinking that. And he wasn't fully dead. The remote control was activated to have the dummy dagger pop out after that.
The dagger was actually glued onto his suit the whole time. The remote only burst like a squib for fake blood.
And it made it a rat, right? I mean, I think it was flaccid and then popped up.
No, I think it was just hanging on there the whole time. We see a flashback of it just dangling off the back.
Yeah, that part's just sewn on. That's just the head, and there's only the one dagger.
Okay, the remote is the blood spatter, purely.
Yes.
Okay. But then Jeremy Renner makes the blood real because Glenn Close screams and everyone turns to see that, and that he has that millisecond to be able to plant that second wolf head dagger into the back of this drugged man and kill him. And that was supposed to be it.
And at this point, they're doing it to save Wick's reputation. And what Martha is planning is, yes, a divine resurrection like Jesus, that people will see Wicks rise from the grave. But, and this is I'm a little bit fuzzy on, but I think she got Nat to do it by offering him money that she never planned to give him. Because, like was mentioned, Prentice Wicks swallowed a diamond with his fortune so that his harlot whore daughter couldn't get any of it. Martha knew this. In confession, she told Wicks. Wicks planned, the reason he called the construction company was because he wanted to get in there at his grandfather's body to get the diamond. He didn't know he was calling them for his own entombment.
Mm-hmm.
And so think Martha told Nat, we're going to get this diamond and it's going to make us so rich. But Martha says her real plot was like to throw the diamond in an ocean. But Nat was doing it because he thought he wasn't rich enough or successful enough for his ex-wife. And so the money from this job would make him rich and seem successful so that he could impress women and maybe get his wife back.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of stories here. It starts off with Benoit kind of telling the story, and then he kind of stops and says, I can't. And, everyone kind of is shocked that this world-famous detective can't complete the story that he began. But we'll find out that's just to allow Martha an opportunity to confess, to have her come to this priest that she has wronged and confess to him her story. It's kind of hard to get the motivations in one viewing. Whether you watch this movie twice or not, you're going to need to spend some time just thinking about what it's telling you. Because as Arnie, you explaining it just that way, it didn't even occur to me why Jeremy Renner was participating. But yes, it was money, obviously. And now it's the greed of that led him to go even further. That once that jewel was produced, poor Samson, the dupe that didn't know exactly what was happening, but was told, pop out of the coffin, grab the pink diamond in the other coffin, and then go out and meet Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner gets dollar signs in his eyes and decides to kill them all, right? If I kill the groundskeeper and then I poison Martha, I can get away with this diamond.
Yeah, and pin it on Judd.
Yeah, it's all there for the taking. So again, who's guilty? Who's bad? I mean, several people have done improper things. But I do think that, yes, we get this final moment with Glenn Close because she's been there the whole time. And she is trying to honor Prentice, the first Wicks, who again taught her at a very formative age that worshiping money was Eve's apple and that she should not want material things. She was really trying to keep that alive by killing the junior Wicks and having everyone believe that he rose from the dead.
Right. She was focused on protecting people around her from the sin of excess and envy and money. But what she failed to see, and she was almost begrudging until Judd cajoled it out of her, that she also needed to forgive Grace for what she did to Grace all those years ago.
Yeah, that making it all put on the women, the woman's the whore and the harlot, to ignore what Wicks had done just isn't right.
Which makes me question if any of the story about the harlot whore was real, if that was just legend.
There you go. Right. How much did she love labels? We only have a few flashes of Grace. She didn't look like she was styling. I don't know. Like, that to me feels like an exaggeration by a woman who learned, I get daddy's approval when I do what he says, and you disobey daddy, so you're the one that we hate. And Martha is a killer. I mean, sort of. Are you killing someone when you switch cups? You know they're trying to poison you, but you let them drink their own poison?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'd say that's probably killing.
If it's a Sicilian when death is on the line, I don't know that... Sorry, Princess Bride reference.
Yeah, I don't know how many Hail Marys you have to say after giving a poisoner their own cup of poison. But yeah, Jeremy Renner drinks it, thinking that he can now tell her she's got 10 minutes to live. And then he finds out, nope. You got what you deserved, and the reason why his house is trashed is he spends his final seconds trying to get out of the basement and make it to the front door, presumably maybe to a medical bag or something.
Yes, and when Blanc and Judd show up there, they're automatically hit with the smell of death, and that's when they discover those bodies that we spoke about.
She put it in the acid. Yeah, she made it look like Wicks drowned him in that acid as payback, but no. It's a hard one to untangle. Even now, as I'm thinking about this plot, it almost is dripping out of my ears, right? It's hard to hold on to this.
It is a lot going on here, and it's just messy because it involves flashbacks of the grandfather and the underdeveloped Nat character having motivation to be brought into this murder plot and then to try to betray his conspirators because he's the one who stabbed Samson and tried to poison Martha, but Martha then poisoned him because she was mad he killed Samson. And why did he kill Samson? I can't decide if it's because he wanted more of the diamond or if he was trying to set Judd up as being a murderer because Judd interrupted Samson coming out of the tomb.
I think he would have killed Samson even if the priest didn't come there, but he realized he could frame... Yeah, I don't know. Did Samson have to die? Or could he have gotten away with the jewel? What would have stopped him if he just got in his car that right then and drove away with the jewel? Would those two really have confessed to their elaborate ruse to get that jewel? I don't think Samson even understood his role. He was just obeying sweet Martha.
Yeah, Samson's the dupe here. Where I get a little lost is in what you were saying here with Nat. Like, obviously this decision was made on the fly. Like, he was never supposed to kill Samson, and could have he killed Judd at the same time? Possibly, but at some point he realized he could set him up in all that chaos, and that's what he did. So some of this feels like it's very well meticulously planned, and other parts of it feel like it's fly by the seat of your pants. And does that make for a good mystery? I don't know. At the end, it kind of feels like it's unraveling a little bit.
Yeah, I know that, yes. I was particularly in first watch struggling. Again, the comedy has kind of gone away. And so that the tone has gotten starker, and it's hard to know how to feel about these people who are changing so much as they're confessing and doing things that I'm like, I know I need to watch this movie again, and I need to slow down and let it sink in. You know, like, I think that this is a meditative movie in the most literal sense. You're going to have to spend some time really thinking about motives, and not just time as you're watching it, but afterwards.
The thing is, even though I think some of this murder wrap up is a little bit muddy, the way it's delivered is so wonderful with the performances. I mean, we've talked about the characters who have gotten short shrift, and Stuart, you called out how great Josh O'Connor is here, but Daniel Craig, I think, is really comfortable now as Benoit Blanc, and that accent feels second nature. And Josh Brolin and Glenn Close were giving such amazing performances here that the moment where Craig stops giving his speech of who did it, when the, light of God shines down upon him in that sort of cheesy moment, and he chooses to let Martha confess rather than out her while Cy is filming it, all of the character development that's been going on, and Martha really committing the ultimate sin of murder, but for good reason. She was trying to prevent her preacher from being corrupted by money, and so she's going to confess here at the end that she, was kind of led astray. All of this character work and the performances from, I'd say, the 4 or 5 main leads is so involving that I'm sucked into this movie perhaps more than any other Knives Out before it, even if the other Knives Out might have been a little bit cleaner in the murder mystery part.
Yeah, that's what I would definitely say is Knives Out, the original, felt like a better murder mystery, and this one is working more as a drama. Just the fact that Benoit himself, who again came in here saying, look, you want me to be at this church I don't believe, and he has a great monologue really calling out the hypocrisies of the Catholic Church, for him to suddenly embrace what the priest has taught him, the humility, and to allow the cameras to tape him saying, I don't know, when he does know. It had to be hard for a vain guy like him. It hurts his reputation. He's supposed to be the guy that can solve anything, but he chooses to follow the priest's lead and play dumb so that no one really does have to know what happened between Glenn Close and the real killings.
That's the ultimate message of this movie, isn't it? That we as humans need to focus on humanity and how we treat each other. And whether you come to that realization through religious means or you come to it through humanitarian means, it's where we need to be. And that's what this whole movie is trying to tell us. It's not necessarily ripping on religion. It's not ripping on atheism. It's basically saying, hey, at the end of the day, we're all humans. How are we going to treat each other?
Yeah, and I also think there's an element about the performative nature of it. Like, stop trying to play to cameras and get those social media likes, right? Like, it's not about how people perceive you. The interesting thing is Wicks is going to live on. His fan base and his videos and his sermons, there are people that are going to stand by him, and it will live on virally forever. But the point is, Benoit, in this moment, did what was right, did what was good, not just solve the case.
And that's what sticks with me. And Judd taking Martha's confession at the end, and conveniently Mila Kunis is standing right there, so she's not going to investigate any further. She knows the truth, and the guilty have been punished.
Can we just say Mila Kunis, another forgettable performance for you? I feel bad for her, but she's been stinking up the screen lately.
I don't say she stinks it up here. She's just nothing. She's not a plus or a minus. She's merely there in this movie.
I think that's a minus when you don't bring anything to an ensemble.
Yeah, but you could say that about half the people here because they're not given much to do. Mila Kunis is a very functional character.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has a point, except for, yes, she's the sheriff. She's the one that's trying to arrest the obvious culprit. I guess Lakeith Stanfield had this role in the first Knives Out, but I don't know. I liked him more. I thought he was more interesting. What she's doing here, I think, is a detriment to the movie. I think she's a minus. Anyway, it's funny. Martha does take the poison. In confessing this, she knows that she's got 10 minutes and then she's going to flop over and no one's going to get the poison kit in time. And she's got the gem. There it is. It falls down. Screen goes blank. We hear Judd's voiceover again and he says, the stone was never found.
We get a funny Blanc moment here, right? Like he kind of looks at Judd and throws his hands up in the air like, I didn't see anything.
Walking away. If anyone asks, I never saw this moment. You're going to have to decide what to do with that.
And they've had a couple moments like that when Cy was offering them a cut if they knew where the fortune was, and the two of them kind of got close together to hide the little globe that was Eve's apple statue, which was all that Prentice had left for Grace, was this little statue of Jesus in this case. And it turned out the case was a Cartier case so that the diamond had come in. I mean, they've had funny moments of teaming up against Cy this whole movie. And it's always made me and, again, my audience laugh.
Yeah, they bring it back here. 1 year later, Cy is still convinced that somewhere there's a Swiss bank account, or that this priest has cheated him and that he's going to have to watch any renovation you do, anything that you try, any fundraiser. I'm going to be counting receipts because I think you stole my inheritance.
And truthfully, he did. I mean, he's not wrong in thinking that he was robbed out of his inheritance. Genetically and probably legally, that diamond is his. Just because Judd is smart enough to not spend the money doesn't mean Judd isn't taking it away from him.
To put it another way, Prentice could have just willed this to somebody that wasn't ever going to spend it, right? He didn't have to be swallow it and die the way that he had to, but it's so dramatic. I mean, it establishes the point that he wanted to make.
Yeah, in all reality, he would have just shipped his riches off to the Vatican and been done with it.
Right, yeah, or you could just put it in a lockbox, right? Throw away that key. But again, the way he did it was to teach a lesson. I think it was for Martha and for Grace.
I kind of thought he maybe kept the diamond around for his grandson. Like, he didn't want Grace to have it. He liked his grandson. He just didn't like the harlot whore.
I think you're wrong on that. I think that is Glenn Close's reading of it. But what his preaching is money is the root of all evil, and nobody should have it.
But then again, the question arises, why didn't he get rid of it then? Why, even though he shunned money, he still kept it?
He thought he did. If I swallow it and then put it myself in a crypt that nobody can enter, no one will ever get it out of my skeleton's abdomen.
I guess Martha wasn't supposed to see that. It should have been a mystery as to where that even was, if it was a thing at all.
Except he performatively swallowed it in front of Martha.
Yeah, and then choked and died. So, I mean, again, there's, quite honestly, whoever did the autopsy is really on the hook here. But anyway, yeah, I mean, we get a montage. We see that some characters are benefiting from this. Vera, again, her rebellious smoking as she's finally getting to leave. She said she became a lawyer because she wanted to do good things. She'll finally be able to do that. Maybe, hopefully. and the cellist is playing through her pain. I don't think any miracle happened, but she's got that athlete's tape on her arms, and she's drawing the bow. She's trying to play music again.
And in the last laugh of the movie, Lee is at his book signing, and they must have had a John Goodman lookalike contest for casting extras that day, because there's like 100 guys who look like John Goodman in Big Lebowski waiting for the autograph of that book.
His own little personal hell.
Yeah, he wanted to somehow appeal to others than conspiracy nuts. And, well, you have a bestseller. You could be happy about it, but they don't represent what you think your audience should be. That's for sure. But yes, the final moment is, of course, given to Judd. He will finally build that cross, put it up where the imprint, the crucifix stain has been. It's now covered. And at the heart of the Christ, we see a little bit of bling there in the last shot. The diamond will always exist in Christ's heart.
So, Justin, Stewart, do you recommend Wake Up Dead Man? Justin.
I'm going to borrow a line from Blanc, but I won't do him the disservice of trying to do his accent. But
no,
there's nothing I'd rather not do than to give this movie a red arrow. Right? Mm-hmm. This is Rian Johnson doing what he loves to do. I really, really loved the first movie, and so much of that first movie was the cinematography, the sets, the area, and that first time around, I thought New England was part of the character of this universe, and that's why I felt a little less strong about the second movie. I felt like moving it out of that location lost a little something for me. So getting back here and putting us back in the East Coast and somewhat of a timeless thing. I know we have modern day devices and stuff like that, but all of our sets feel like they could be pulled out of any of the last 100 years and taken place at any time therein. So I really, really appreciate the vibe and the feel of these movies, and coming back to this area is a big plus for me. And we already talked about how this one may take a few more viewings to fully understand the mystery, but also for us to understand that maybe this time it isn't all about the mystery. This time it's more, like Stuart said, about the character development. And like Arnie, you said earlier, we finally get an arc for our main character, Blanc, here. He does learn something here. He grows as a human by the end of this movie. And I think that's part of the fun here. Rian Johnson straight up mentions it. He makes a Scooby-Doo joke in this movie, and he knows very well that if he just keeps doing this first movie over and over again, it's just going to become Scooby-Doo. Like, at the end of the movie, we pull off the mask and find out who did it all along. And I don't think he has any notion of wanting to do that movie after movie. So the fact that he's evolving and telling us these mysteries in different ways, but looking at them at different angles, is a plus to me. So I'm going to give this one another high recommend, because I really do enjoy this universe, and I hope we get some more here, and I hope he finds another way to keep surprising us in the future. Because if he's going to come at these movies with a fresh eyes every time and do something unexpected, I know during his Star Wars movie, everybody was talking about how he's subverting expectations. Well, I think that's good here. I don't want to come into a mystery movie that's by the numbers and be able to figure it out just by watching it or looking at the cast list. So yeah, if you haven't seen this one, you've seen the other ones, obviously give it a watch. But I put this one right after the original in my order of pecking.
I love when Benoit Blanc actually goes Scooby-Dooby-Doo. That accent, that is hysterical. Stuart.
Yeah, like you, I really appreciate what Rian Johnson has done, by bringing back this creaky old drawing room murder mystery and trying to find a modern take on it. Not only are Knives Out, Glass Onion, and Wake Up Dead Man clever whodunits, full of all those twists and red herrings that we want and expect from that kind of movie, they are exposés on the sins of our age. Knives Out very clearly was about class warfare. It took on the plight of an immigrant caretaker. Glass Onion exposed disruptors as stupid assholes who only break things for attention. And now we have Wake Up Dead Man, which I think is his most direct attack on the politics of Trump and the way that this president has manipulated and abused his followers for his personal gain and wealth. God knows you can't have that kind of political discourse openly. If Rian Johnson were to make a movie about Trump, half the people won't come, arms folded. They're not willing to have that discussion. But by planting it here in this pulpit, and having it be represented in this way with this cast, yeah, I think he's found a really fun way of taking something that's important to talk about and making it so that everybody can watch this film. It takes huge leaps. And I don't know that all of them land. I'm not sure all the characters get their just desserts. But I do think that Dead Man works better than Glass Onion because it is willing to trust the picture to Josh O'Connor. I think he's really the hero here. He's more compelling to me than Janelle Monáe or Ana de Armas, in part because, again, he's just so morally complex. Because we know from the get-go he is a killer. And he believes that because he has sinned, that is why he is loved. That he is not trying to say, I'm a better person and deserve God's love than you, but trying for all of us to reflect and not cast stones. And that, to me, like Arnie, you said earlier, that's the kind of Christianity maybe we need right now. We don't need warriors out trying to get wolves. We need people that can hug and embrace. It's a tour de force performance from him. It doesn't even need Daniel Craig. Again, I think you could have made this not a Knives Out mystery and just made this him solving it, and it would be a beautiful story. But when that detective shows up, it's even better. Watching those two spar and talk about the worth of organized religion and faith is a beautiful thing to behold. You are right, Justin, that Johnson's tried this before. Last Jedi definitely tried to say that Luke and some of the characters were thornier and had complexities. It ended up making that franchise feel bitter and overlong and not pleasant. I did not like Last Jedi a lot. He has found the right venue here. Dead Man is the wake-up call we need. It may not be as much fun. I think that's why I will say Knives Out is the best of the trilogy, but I think this is, dramatically speaking, by far the most interesting. It's a really compelling film. You should check it out.
And I've said it before on these reviews that I love murder mystery stories, on TV, Monk, Murder, She Wrote. More recently, Only Murders in the Building's been fun. I think, though, with this third entry, Rian Johnson has created my favorite murder mystery series ever. In each installment, we get really vivid characters with dense mysteries and satisfying plot twists. And all of them are funny, clever, endlessly rewatchable. Justin, you said it about the first movie. I feel it now. I love living in this world with Benoit Blanc. I just like the look, the sound, the feel, the humor. I've fully come around on Craig's performance here. I mocked his accent early on. Now I find it inseparable from the character and the light-hearted tone of the series. Had Craig kept his British accent and gone full Holmes, I think these movies would feel stiff and self-serious. But we get this brilliant mastermind foghorn leghorn, and it balances comedy and intellect perfectly. I don't know if Craig's performance and accent set the tone for the series or matches the tone for the series, but it's perfect. And every Knives Out movie has made me laugh out loud while also daring me to solve the puzzle before Blanc does. And I haven't succeeded yet. Guessing Martha was involved here is as close as I've gotten, but that's so much of the fun for me. But yet with this one, it's not all about the surprise. It isn't with the others either. I rewatch those and enjoy them just for seeing new clues or just enjoying the performances and the atmosphere. But with this one, it became so character-driven that I feel the mystery takes a little bit of a backseat and not necessarily to the series' detriment. I will say my problems with this one, there's some minor weaknesses. My biggest one is we don't get enough time spent with some of the suspects. I've called that out repeatedly during this review. Glass Onion did this best, almost overdid it by having everyone trapped on an island. The first film worked differently when Blanc and Ana de Armas interviewed Toni Collette and Don Johnson and Michael Shannon and Jamie Lee Curtis, giving all of them enough scenes to feel fully suspicious. This film returns to that first movie structure, with Blanc again partnered with the apparent prime suspect. The downside is Nat, Sam, Simone, Lee never get the depth they deserve. But what's great is how Johnson really did take the chance to lean hard into themes of faith, guilt, redemption. The mystery may be slightly shortchanged, but the film is richer for it. I like the exploration of these characters more than I like the mystery. Josh O'Connor is excellent as Judd. Just a man constantly fighting the urge to fight, drowning in doubt. It's just a great character arc and a terrific performance. So I'm with you, Stuart. I think that even though Glass Onion did spend more time with its characters, I didn't find its mystery as compelling as this one. So the ranking is the first film is still the masterpiece. This third one comes damn close. Part 2's still really good fun and a movie I like. So, Johnson, he could make 20 more of these. I'd happily watch every one, and it would still have less installments than a single season of Murder, She Wrote had back in the 80s and 90s. So I know Johnson has said he wants to do another movie before coming back to Knives Out. I want him to get that out of the way, go make your other movie, get those knives back out, because I'm hungry for more.
And I will say that if you guys haven't checked it out, Rian Johnson did go to television. We talked about why is Natasha Lyonne on the Zoom call with all the other detectives. It's because Poker Face is a fantastic show. There's 2 seasons out on Peacock. It's Rian Johnson's baby, and it's terrific. She's great in it, and almost every episode is a real gem.
Yeah.
I still have Peacock, so I will get to watching it after this. I talked about it last time. It's been canceled, sadly, so there's only 2 seasons. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm crushed.
Well, they're talking about retooling it and bringing Peter Dinklage in.
What?
I don't understand what's going on behind the scenes.
I had not heard this news. I'm devastated. Oh.
Yet that makes me more likely to watch it because I know it's finite.
You should definitely check it out. Yes, definitely.
That and the Father Dowling Mysteries. What was that Tom Bosley show in the 80s?
I liked that too,
I'm sure you did. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, stop. Stop. There are limits, and mine is right there. But you know what? It's bittersweet. This is our last review of 2025. We are done with, I'll just be honest, guys. This has been a challenging year for me, personally, professionally, in so many ways. It's nice to end with all 3 of us really enjoying the film and, the series. Again, all Green Arrows.
Yeah, and I'm positive that we're going to kick off the new year in the same spirit with 3 recommends for Anaconda's Trail of Blood on Friday.
Yeah, that's Anaconda 4, made for Sci-Fi Channel, and David Hasselhoff was too good to come back.
Or too drunk and having too many cheeseburgers. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
Yeah, he's not there and I miss him. I'll just put it that way.
But since it is the end of the year, something that every year people post is Spotify Wrapped. I don't use Spotify myself. I don't actually like it as a service, but it's so cool when you get from the services your stats of the year. I get them from like Audible and things. And some people were posting, and I asked them to email us because it was really humbling how many people posted that we were their number 1 most listened to podcast on their service. And it shows how many hours they've listened to us.
Oh, wow. So you can actually call them out on it. Like, people can't pretend.
Yeah. And it shows what percentage they are of our fan. Like, you've listened for 3 days. You're a top 7% fan. You've listened for 12 days. You're a top 1% fan.
Okay, we don't need to be wicks, like, wheedling down to the congregation, but that is cool. I'm really amazed and touched that people want to hear us for how long? Who are the top ones?
We're going to give all of them a shout out if we were their number 1 show.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we're going to kick it off right with Paul of Iowa, who listens via AntennaPod. And the stats are we're the number 1 podcast on his AntennaPod feed. And followed up by Kieran Millward, also on AntennaPod. Also the number 1 podcast listened to there. Then we have Walter Polk, who has a solid 10 hours in. Alex Sandell with a full day and 3 hours of listening time. Brian Clutter via Pocket Casts, 1 day and 14 hours. Dusty Danzy, 1 day, 18 hours. Alex Cowley, 1 day, 21 hours. These things are starting to jump up there.
Yeah.
We got Aaron Capes with a full 2 days and 3 hours. Ariel Echeverria, 2 days, 7 hours. Vinicius de la Veria Schwelmein, 2 days, 14 hours. Al Me, 2 days and 19 hours. and Andrew Theobald at 2 days and 20 hours.
All impressive. Again, anyone that wants to listen at 5 minutes after hearing the show, I salute you. But now we're getting to 3 days, people. 3 days, 1 hour. We got Dal Dillard. And then 3 days, 2 hours, Anthony Texter. 3 days, 3 hours, Casey Heaton. Then we really jump. 3 days, 11 hours, Brian White. 14 hours and 3 days for Matt Holmes. Wayne Brackenberry is 4 days and 3 hours. Joe Barrett is 4 days, 7 hours. John Beaton is 4 days, 21 hours. Don from Horde Customs, 4 days, 24 hours. We are almost there. 5 days. And boy, when they clear to 5 days, we got Travis Jenkins, 5 days, 1 hour. Mark M, 5 days, 4 hours. And Michael Bashim, 5 days, 8 hours. This is really incredible, guys. And I'm hoping you're taking bathroom breaks. I hope this is not literally for 5 days you didn't sleep. You just like crammed every show.
It was Holy Week. Started on Palm Sunday and just went straight through.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone's going to die if you do that, for sure.
If you're doing those marathons, email me, because that means you have the fortitude to be an editor of our show. All right. Are you guys ready for the top takers, though?
I can't believe it.
Kevin Roche, 5 days, 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Jace Bailey, 6 days, 14 hours. Michael Ryan, 7 days, 9 hours. Neil Varma, 7 days, 15 hours. We're getting up there. Jordan Fletcher, 9 days, 3 hours.
9 days. Okay. Can't get that time back.
Michael Snodgrass and Michael Walker tied for 10 days, 14 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice Jenkins, 12 days, 11 hours. Michael Thaleen, he used Pocket Cast. I didn't know Pocket Cast gave stats, but he sent us Pocket Cast. We were his number one at 14 days, 2 hours. Luke Hinton, 14 days, 7 hours. Matt Sacco, 14 days, 17 hours. And Peter Brockovich, 16 days and 22 hours.
That's got to be the record.
Was that the top one?
No, there is one higher. And get this, it kind of makes sense. It's a new listener who just discovered us this year thanks to Heavy Spoilers on YouTube. Heavy Spoilers have given us a few shout outs. We really appreciate that. That's really cool of them. And so Caleb F., who found out about us this year, made us his number one podcast and listened for 25 days and 19 hours.
Do we have that many shows, or did he just repeat shows?
Oh, we have that many shows, sir. We have that many shows. And those are just on the main feed if they're coming in through Spotify. So that is a lot of listening. Caleb, you have been so devoted. We're going to invite you to join us on the show and pick a movie for us to review.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I feel like if somebody spent almost a full month listening to us out of a year, a 12th of their life in 2025 was listening to our show.
Yeah, you definitely deserve a seat.
Caleb, we want you to come on the show, pick a movie for us to review, and join us on the show for that. So we're going to reach out to you and find out when and what.
You might be setting a dangerous precedent. Next year, we're going to be sitting here with people with 100 days.
Nobody knew this was coming, so nobody could Photoshop fake ones.
Yeah.
So we're not doing this again. We might give shout outs again, but there won't be a prize again because it could be gamed.
Right.
This time, though, this was pure. That's why we're doing it. It's a one-time thing. And
I love it.
But when I saw people listening to us for so many hours and days, I was floored. I am touched by everyone who took the time this year. Stuart, you mentioned it was a hard year for you, but the way the community rallied around with the Stew Crew shirts and everything this year.
I know.
People listening, people being part of our community on Facebook, on Reddit, people emailing and sending signs of support and sending photos in the Stew Crew shirts. You guys really are our rock this year.
That's true. Yeah, that's why I said it's bittersweet. On one hand, it's been so horrible, and yet such beauty has emerged from it. Very touched.
Some of that humanity we were talking about earlier shining through right through our listeners.
The Damascus moment.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening to Now Playing this year. We have a packed 2026 coming up. Yes, we're kicking it off with Anaconda 4, but hey, a week after that, we got the reboot of Anaconda, which is in theaters now.
You better hope that's good, because you chalked that thing up like it's the second coming. It better be your favorite movie of all time.
Well, hopefully my Anaconda wants some of it, but we'll find out next week. Thank you again for listening to Now Playing. Happy New Year to all of you. Justin Stewart, thank you for joining me. And we got to do this more often.
Strange case from the start. A case with a hole in the middle. A donut. I feel the noose tightening. One central piece, and if it reveals itself, the fog would lift.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You guys fans?
Big fan. I'm a big fan.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
You will find me a respectful, quiet, passive observer of the truth.
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
Are you baiting me, detective?
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Transformers.
I expect it's going to be about something, if not extraordinary, then at least interesting.
Plus, we have individual movie reviews, such as Titanic, E.T., Inception, Big Hero 6, Ready Player One, Pulp Fiction, Apocalypse Now, Dr. Strangelove, and hundreds more.
The game is afoot. Hey, Watson?
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
I think this could be the best thing to happen to all of you!
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
You do as I say, and everything will be just fine.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at NowPlayingPodcast.com.
So how about it, Watson?
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews.
I trust your kind heart.
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, celebrity interviews, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
I anticipate the terminus of gravity's rainbow.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
You know, this is an interesting and efficient method of murder.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
My presence will be ornamental.
Now Playing is edited by Heath and Arnie.
Damned if I don't get more tired every day. Tired of what I do.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
I think you have something you want to tell me.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Everyone can lie. Well, almost everyone.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
So I guess I will find the right lawyers.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
This is stupid with 2 O's.
Now playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2025, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Who is that guy? And why are we doing all this again?